bringing you that heat and that fire. We keeping a foot on the what on the next. We keeping a foot on the what on the next. We got Jacob Lonewolf and we got Richy Rich in the building. Jacob Lonewolf, let's start off with you, brother, man. Let's get these salutations out the way.
Yeah, what's up? He knows I'm Richy Rich, Yes, my name is Jacob Lonewolf, I'm live here in Melbourne right now, and, I feel like, the topics that he knows, messaged me before, I think that there were great topics that, I feel like, it's going to be a great live stream. And, he got the beanie on, fuck. I just can tell that it's going to be an epic live stream, when he wears that beanie. So, yeah, I'm ready.
You already know, man. We in black beanie mode. I had to issue our Etherins and Merkins all day on YouTube. So everybody was getting on the boxing side, on the basketball side. Everybody's getting it. When I'm in this mode, it's the most visceral. So, yeah, Richy Rich, man, let's get on to it, man. What's the salutations, man?
Hey, what's up? Shout outs to He Knows. Thanks for bringing me on the platform. Shout outs to Jacob Lonewolf. Good looking. Happy to see you again on the show again. It's going to be a phenomenal show. You got some great topics going on. Discussing the games in the bubble, the teams that are about to, encounter each other. It should be a great show. We should be going in. All you coming in through the chat, we're looking forward to seeing what you guys got to say. Let's make this like He Knows said, that fire. Let's make it a fire show today. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up, man. I see everybody is in the mode. Everybody's in the building. Everybody's getting ready to do their thing. So we gonna hit this thing off, and we're gonna start off with the first topic at hand, man. The fire discussion in basketball, man. We got to talk about it. Damian Lillard is on fire offensively. What about his defense as well as the Portland Trailblazers defense? Jacob Lonewolf, we're gonna let you start off with this, man. What's your take on this topic with Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers offensively, but their lack on the defensive end, brother?
Yeah, definitely, I think, Damian Lillard, he's one of those players in the NBA, I think he comes from the mold of a Kobe Bryant to a point where he's very clutch, He's a great offensive player, and with me, I've had debates numerous of times, with a lot of people here in Melbourne when it comes to who's better, Dame, Russ, or Harden. I've always preferred Dame Lillard over those two guys, because when it came to pressurized situation, Dame Lillard has probably he's come clutch in big moments than James Harden or Russell Westbrook, And people always say how James Harden is this epic scorer, but with me, on any given day, I'll choose a Dame Lillard over a James Harden, because the thing with James Harden is that even though he has these epic performances, there's times where he just comes up small in big moments. There's been numerous of times where he's come small in big moments. And Damian Lillard, even though he's not as good on the defensive end, he is one of my favorite players. And I think the first time I came on your live stream, I think it was like 5 months ago. I think I had a list of players that were my favorite, and he was one of them. And I think just the way that Dame carries himself, I think just the way he plays the game, his attitude, his mantra, I definitely respect that. But we gotta call a spade here. In basketball, there's levels, in everything, not just in basketball, but in life, and there's levels to everything, And the thing with Dame Lillard, is he's a really great offensive player, This guy got range, bro, like nobody's business, I mean, I would even go and reckon he's right up there with Steph, definitely, I would put him up there with Steph, because I just think that Dame, even though Steph is in a better system, I think Damian Lillard, if you to switch those two players, I think he would hold his own. I just think Dame is one of those players, he's a very clutch player, I think he's mastered a lot of facets of the game. This guy can pull it from three. He has a good mid-range game. He has good handles, right? But we gotta admit, when it can't in playoff series, in the past, there's been times where he's came up small, and sometimes I think with Dame is he tries to do too much, and it comes at the cost of the team, you know. And sometimes I think he needs to. Sometimes he needs to like share the responsibility, you know. And I think that's why with him is that even if you look at the Portland Trailblazers, right? I think they definitely have the bodies, you know, like the defensive bodies. You know, they have Nurkic, they have Hassan Whiteside. These guys, you know, particularly Hassan Whiteside. This guy was, he's a shot blocker, man. Like this guy is a good defensive player, and I just think it's the system that they play in. You know, I think in the system that they play in is give Dame the ball and let him make some shit happen. And I think with him, particularly at his size, you know, sometimes, you know, in the NBA, right, when you're a guard, particularly in today's NBA, it's guard driven, right? But at the end of the day, you know, if you're a taller basketball player, you have more advantages. So I think with Dame, sometimes he tries to be Superman, but he needs to know that sometimes he has limited things, particularly his height, you know. And sometimes when you go up against bigger teams, you can't play the same way that you would another team, you know. So I think it's the system that they play in why sometimes they lack on the defensive end, because I feel like the players that they have on their team, like they have some bodies that they can match up against a team like Milwaukee or the Clippers. But I just think it's the system that they play in where I think the system needs to get everyone involved more into the team. You know, I think that Hassan Whiteside, Nurkic, they have untapped potential. You know, Melo is on the, you know, we also know Melo's a great offensive player, but he's been lazy on the defensive side of the ball his entire career, you know. And I just think that, particularly on their team, particularly CJ and Dame, they're good offensive players, but I don't think that they don't have the nuance when it comes to guarding other guards, you know. And particularly in today's game, it's a more offensive-driven game, you know. So defense isn't really that important, like the game of the past. You know, the game has evolved, and I think I think the game in terms of like the NBA, I think players are very skilled now than they were back then. Like I think it's a positionless game that we have today, but I just think that in terms of defense, well, obviously the rule that the NBA did I think what year was it that they like the no handshake thing? What year was that when they said that you couldn't really put your your elbow on a player? Yeah, handshake.
It was right after the Pistons bad boy era. It was like in the early 90s. That's when they started to ingratiate the no handshaking.
Yeah, yes. You know, so I think that with the NBA, right? I think when we hear a lot of these current players, and even some Hall of Famers say that players are more skilled now. They are skilled now, you know, because I will give them that. A lot of I'm seeing big men shooting threes like big men didn't shoot threes in the past. So the modern big man is much more skilled than the big man of the past. But you have to factor in a lot of variables into the play, you know, because obviously with a no handshake, it obviously did a lot of things for a lot of good defensive players, great defensive players that they couldn't use. Like, you know, Gary Payne was a great defensive player, you know, and I think in the NBA there's a lot of great defensive players, but obviously with this no handshake thing, like you see that the refs do with James Harden, players can't really guard a great offensive player because the refs are always also going to give the superstars a call, and I think that messes up the game. And I think the NBA, I think it just messes up everything because when you keep calling these ticky-tack fouls, there's no fluidity in the game, you know. And this is where you have a lot of these wrongful calls that just affect the whole game. And I think James Harden is one of those players that has utilized that, and you got to give him credit, you know. But if James Harden didn't get those calls, I think he's a very limited offensive player, you know. And I'm going to go back on Dame, but I think a guy like James Harden, yeah, he can shoot threes. Yeah, he can go to the lane and he can lay it up. But if you really look at this, does he have a good post game? Does he have a really good fadeaway? No. You know. So when people say that James Harden's a great offensive player and they compare him to Wilt Chamberlain or Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, I just don't see it because when I saw these type of players, they mastered every facet of the game. I'm talking about fadeaway, you know, reverse, you know, like the dream shake, you know, mid range. And I think in today's game, a lot of players, they're getting away from the mid-range game because a lot of these analytic dorks, right, that are trying to say, no, you can't shoot twos, you need to shoot threes, more points, I just think that with Dame, it's just that I just think that it's the system that they play in, and I don't feel like they're utilizing a lot of the players on their team offensively, and that's why I feel like when it comes to the defensive end, he's just so worn out that a lot of the times he can't play defense, and I think we spoke about this last week, I think that these players are so offensive driven that they don't know they're not playing chess, but they're playing checkers, meaning that, right, if you look at Kawhi, right, or KD, these guys can score all day, every day. Like, these guys have mastered every facet of the game. So,
exactly.
And here's what I want to say, right? I think that the NBA has given a lot of mediocre players the chance to be superstars, meaning, right? And I'm not trying to hate on people like James Harden, but I just think James Harden is one of those typical players. I just feel like he just cheats the game. My personal opinion, I just feel like he's cheated the game, but which benefits him. I'm not hating, but I just think that when you're that type of player, right? I think you get away with a lot of things, and I think players like a Kawhi and a KD, they have the benefit of the doubt. If they wanted to basically shoot the ball every possession, they could, and they should, because they're that skilled. They've mastered every facet of the game. And in today's game, you have a lot of mediocre players that are great, but you have to give the NBA credit for the rules that they've enforced in the game. Where they have no handshake, which allows players like a James Harden to basically, use these tactics to, get foul calls. So I just think that, with the Portland Trailblazers, I just think that so basically, if you're too offensive driven, right, and you're not really a superstar and you haven't mastered every facet of the game, I'm not saying that he has, right, you're going to get worn out on the defensive end, and I think that these players are too driven by stats and MVPs and scoring titles to a point where when you give your all on one end of the court, you're going to get worn out, and players like Kawhi and KD, they've mastered, they're not going to shoot the ball every possession because they understand the system. Hey, I have 4 other players on my team. Let them do their thing and run a play so I can rest. And this is what Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan were talking about. I think Kobe Bryant, in his previous interviews before he died, he would literally say, now this was 3 years ago in First Take Way, he literally said, they'll ask him, hey, did Phil Jackson ever ask you to basically take a night off? And he said, he never said that. And what Kobe said was that he got this from MJ, is that let's just say if they were playing back-to-back games, right, 4 games, 5 nights, he will literally find rest within the game. So basically, the first game, he will probably be on top of the key, driving, dribbling, shooting threes, right? But then the next game, he'll probably be on the post more, And this is how, he didn't sustain that much injuries, because when you're on the post, you're not using that much muscles, and you're not exerting that much energy. It's footwork, and it's about your intelligence and how much moves that you have. So he'll literally do that, and he'll literally find rest within the game. And whenever I look at a player like Kawhi, that's why he's never wavered, because he finds rest within the game. Even though he load manages, which is smart, he actually finds rest within the game, and he doesn't shoot every possession because he knows that he needs to use some of that energy on the defensive end. And I think with Dame is too offensive driven, and I think that with the team that he's playing on, he has to do that. And I think during this NBA, which I have a problem with the 8-game schedule, is that he's had to do too much offensive things just to will his team into the playoff hunt, And that's why I have a problem with this 8-game rule. And that's why I had a problem with the NBA coming back to the bubble, because you're not giving these teams a fair chance. They should have had more games to prepare. And I just think that's why I feel like the Blazers, they're not really guarding the other team on the defensive end as well, because they have to let Dame perform, on the offensive end at a high level, just to will them into the play-in tournament. So that's my opinion.
Facts. Richy Rich, man, what's your take on the whole Dame Dollar situation in that topic, man, offensively and defensively.
Great points, Jacob. Damian Lillard, he's a great offensive player. We've seen what his whole repertoire. He's a phenomenal point guard. He's up there with Steph and Kyrie in terms of the ability of being able to take over games and going on a crazy scoring bench. He's one of those type of point guards. He's a score first point guard, but he's also improved as a playmaker. But like Jacob said, yeah, I gotta agree. Like when you look at the roster on the Portland Trailblazers, in the past, I mean, and recently they haven't, done enough to improve that roster and give them depths on the guard and the wing positions. And plus, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, they're an undersized backcourt. Damian Lillard is like 6'1" or 6'2". If you're like, you're trying to, give him some extra height, 6'2", maybe 6'1". And CJ McCollum is about 6'3". They're undersized. They remind me of Stephen Curry and Monte Ellis. I don't know if you guys remember that backcourt. Yep. When Curry was drafted by the Golden State Warriors, a few years ago.
Bring it.
They couldn't get to the playoffs because they were undersized backcourt. They were great offensively, but what hurt them was the defense. I remember when they would play Kobe or the Lakers. Kobe would always go to the post, man, on Monte Ellis. He would punish that dude. And it wasn't just the Lakers. It was other teams. Like, they knew that their backcourt was undersized. So they pretty much would go on the post against those guys. And those guys couldn't do anything. I mean, they're scrappy defenders. They're going to go for steals. They're going to gamble. But bigger backcourts are going to take them down low and score their points on them in that regard. So I felt that this year they tried to make an effort. They got Trevor Ariza off a buyout, but Trevor Ariza can't play in the bubble because baby mama issues. So he had to cancel, opt out of the bubble to be there for his kid or something because his baby mama had to do with child support. So Trevor Ariza couldn't play. I felt that he could have helped him defensively. Also Rodney Hood. That dude was playing really good for them this year. He's about 6'6", and he was playing really good. He's a guard that comes off the bench. You know him. He used to play on the Utah Jazz, and he played on that Cavs team that lost to the Warriors in the finals a couple years ago. But he's a solid player. He plays two ways, and he could have helped him out. They would have needed that depth going up against a team like the Lakers. So. What you see Damian Lillard having to do now is we know Damian Lillard could score. He's reeled off 50-point games, 60-point games, 40-point games to carry this Blazers team in the playoffs to possibly get in the AFC. They got to play the Memphis Grizzlies tomorrow in that play-in. If they win, they're in. They get the AFC. They're playing the Lakers. If they lose, it's the Grizzlies. But that's gonna be a tough game because. There's a report that came out saying that CJ McCollum is hurt. He has a fracture in his back, but he's gonna play. But you know that dude, an injury like that is going to make him labor around, and Damian Lillard is gonna have to do more, and it's gonna hurt them defensively because they don't have that depth on the wings. They're already an undersized backcourt. We know they're gonna score, but it's gonna hurt them defensively. John Morant, since he's the bigger guard against Lillard, he's gonna try to go at Lillard, man, and use his athleticism and his physical, obviously his physical, ability over him. He's gonna use his height advantage. Damian Lillard, he struggles with bigger point guards, especially attacking point guards. But it's gonna be a shootout game. I still think Portland's gonna win that game because their bigs are better. This is where their bigs come into play. Nurkic, Hassan Whiteside, they're gonna be the difference maker. But like Jacob said, man, Lillard, it's kind of like a catch-22 because he's a capable defender. I've seen Lillard play defense, but it's too much is required from him to carry the load offensively, and that hurts him. That hurts him on the other end because you see it like he doesn't have the same energy to try to make an attempt to defend because he has to continuously be the scorer. Like last night, you saw Karis LeVert. That dude was going off on the Blazers. There was nothing they could do. They couldn't do nothing because Lillard was guarding him, or it was C.J. McCollum that was guarding him, or it was Melo. Like these guys, they're too offensive oriented. If they want a chance to really, yeah, like he's saying, Joseph Bailey, they have to move the ball. The ball sticks too much to Damian Lillard, and that makes them obvious. We know Lillard could score with the best of them, but the ball is sticking to him and too much, and they're not really a great ball movement team. If they really want to do damage, they gotta give that ball to Nurkic, man. Nurkic has a decent post up game. Plus, he could pass out of the post. If you've been watching watch Nurkic's game, he's a skilled big man, Euro big. Those Euro bigs are always pretty skilled. They got pretty good post games, and they know how to pass out of the post. So I think Terry Stotts, he needs to try to run different sets, man. That doesn't make that team too obvious. Because we know Lillard, man, in fourth quarter, Lillard is going to shoot that ball. He's going to shoot that rock. He's one of those players, you live and you die with him. He's gonna shoot the shot and live with the results. We've known many players like that played in the NBA, but they've also, they've given more on the other end. He can't really give that much on the other end because, he has things working against him. He has to be the continuous scorer on that team. Plus, he's undersized. So teams are going to go at him, man. They're going to get him or McCollum in the post. And they're also lacking that depth that they had because those guys aren't there. Reza and Rodney Hood. I felt those guys gave him a chance because those guys, we already know about Trevor Reza's defense. That man is a solid defender. He knows about it. When that man was playing with Kobe, Trevor Reza would always have key steals, key defensive plays when they went on that title run in 2009. So you already know what you're getting out of even when he was playing on Houston, that dude was a solid defender, man. I remember that game where he gave Durant some problems. Trevor Reza is a solid. That's a player that they could have used against LeBron James, but he's not going to be there. And Rodney Hood, he's 6'6". He's a solid player. They could use him. But those guys are not there, so I'm not sure. I think they're going to be able to get get that 8th spot, but them being able to match up with the Lakers, I'm not sure if they're not gonna match up well with them. So Damian Lillard, phenomenal offensive player, but the defensive end, he needs to work on it, man. Him and McCollum, they got to figure out what they're gonna do with him and McCollum because those guys, they've been with each other. They've had success. They went to the Western Conference Finals last year, but we saw what happened, man. When they got there, them dudes got smoked. The war, KD wasn't even playing. That was when KD was sitting out because he strained his calf. That was before the Achilles heel. They got spanked by that Warriors team, bro. It was no contest. So them boys got to figure it out. And his brother was on the court. That was when his brother was playing for the Trailblazers. Seth Curry, on the Dallas Mavericks. It was no contest. I was like, man, how did these boys get to this Western Conference Finals? They didn't even make this competitive. So it's because of their backcourt, man. It's undersized. I felt they should have tried to move CJ McCollum and try to see if they can get a 6'6" or 6'7" guard to pair up with Lillard like they did with Stephen Curry. And you saw what Curry was able to do with that. Them cats were able to finally win games, go deeper in the postseason. They even were able to win a championship. They even were able to win a title that year when they beat the Cavs to win their first championship in 2015. But I don't know. They're a formidable backcourt, but they're just not a backcourt I felt that they reached their peak. You're not gonna get more out of them. because we already know what they're gonna do. So that's my take on those guys. And Damian Lillard offensively and defensively.
There you go, man. Jacob Lonewolf started what we would say a domino effect. And Richy Rich went ahead and continued to let that domino circulate. So I'm gonna go ahead and read some comments in the chat before I say my 2 cents on it. Joseph Bailey said, I hope Dame don't burn himself out. The team has to step up defensively. Super facts. Then he came back and doubled back on that bad boy with confidence and fortitude and said, Portland need to move the ball around and stop playing so much ISO ball. Then Lewis came and buffered his point and said, Damian Lillard shows low B-ball IQ because he doesn't use his legs. He doesn't use his bigs. Facts. Then Lewis came back and said, him feeding into Skip's reverse psychology, which I was going to say, but I got to give Lewis credit because he beat me to the punch, is going to burn him out. Facts. Then he came back and said, it's already bad enough that Dame and CJ ISO time stagnates the offense, which is also bad coaching. Facts. And then on the last point here, because I got to bring this up because I said it, salute to you, G5 Gabe. He says, salute Richy Rich, Jacob, and chat fam. Trailblazers had an easy route through the West last year. That's why they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then I love this game. You know I'm always shout you out, girl. The Blazers don't play intelligent basketball. See, this is the thing with HeKnowsHisSport, and people have to understand that HeKnowsHisSport is always going to address the elephant in the room. Jacob Lonewolf, you know this, man, because Jacob Lonewolf, man, is going through that true alphas, boy, road, man. So he knows what it's all about. Like he said, you got to fight with yourself every day. Let me tell you guys something about true alphas. When everybody's running a certain way, you got to run the other way. When you see everybody running a one way, Damian Lillard, you better take your butt, turn around and run the other. Because everybody is running into hoopla. These are followers. I already know the truest and the most properest levels that's associated with Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers. That's why I kept the proverbial foot on the what? On the next. That's why I kept the proverbial foot on the what? On the next. And I didn't care who I offended. See, we have to get out of this mindset of, oh, we rocks with Dame Dollar, or we rocks with Damian Lillard because he's cool. Who gives a flying you know what about him being cool? This is about basketball. This is about judging him at the highest levels. And when I judge somebody at the highest level, the term superstar, Skip Bayless, is not wrong about that. Why are you guys attacking Skip Bayless when he said take the super out of the front of star that's associated with Damian Lillard? He's right. See, the problem is the lamest Rudy Poo and Plum Brain, classic Doden Troglodyte, ultra fanboy with the ultra fanboy rhetoric, i.e. NBA fanship, has now dumbed down even what superstar means. Let me explain this to you guys. So get the notepads out and get to the damn scribbling. Superstar back in the day used to denote an NBA player that was elite on both sides of the coin, a Geppetto, so to speak. You don't know who the character Geppetto is. Richy Rich knows what I'm talking about. This is a guy that's ambidextrous. This is a guy that can play on both sides of the aisle. This is a guy that can do everything. That is what superstar denoted. It denoted a person who dominated on all aspects. Why is that prevalent in basketball? In basketball, for you to be a superstar, which is a terminology that's dumbed down in today's Rudy Poo and Plum Brain generation, you have to play elite on both sides of the ball. Damian Lillard is not a superstar. He is a star. He is the equivalent of what you would say a Patrick Ewing was. That's why he couldn't get his ass over the hump with the Chicago Bulls. He is the equivalent of what you would say a Charles Barkley. That's why he couldn't get his ass over the hump. He is the equivalent of what you would say a Vince Carter. That's why he couldn't get his ass over the hump. And when I say Vince Carter, I'm talking about in terms of lacking a certain element. When you look at certain players and you see their makeup as a star, there's something that they're missing. Devin Booker is a star because he's not defensively responsible. We don't look at Devin Booker and say he is the greatest defensive player. We don't say that. We look at Devin Booker and say he can put the ball in the basket. The problem with the NLP, neuro-linguistic programming basketball generation is this is what the NBA did. And I'm glad Jacob Lonewolf brought that point because I'm going to buffer that and I'm going to beef up that and I'm going to add to it. He was talking about hand checking. I think it went over a lot of people's heads. So I'm going to bring that one back so it marinates the corpus callosum in the cerebellum. So hear me. Well, when we look at the totality that's associated behind what we call hand checking. The reason why the NBA did away with that is because the NBA was trying to drive up the revenue share. You know, we got to bring out a little encyclopedia history here. Remember, I told you, when I want to bring out an encyclopedia, I can bring this thing out. They had to drive out the They had to drive up the revenue share, and they knew the best way to drive up the revenue share was by scoring baskets, scoring basketball, because they know in the modest, casual, lamest mind, they want to see the ball goes in the hoop. That's what they want to see above anything else. Defense is not sexy. That's why they did away with the bad boy Pistons. That's why they did away with that, because defense doesn't sell. What sells is putting the ball in the hoop. So hand checking was off limits. Physical type defense of getting in your stock and making you pick up your dribble, that was off limits because they had to drive up the revenue share. Richy Rich is laughing, goosebumps is clicking. He's like, damn, boy, this boy went back. He on that basketball 303 lane. Yeah. We in the basketball 303 lane. So get the notepads out. And like I said, get to the damn scribbling. They had to drive the revenue share up. So in order for them to drive the revenue share up, they needed to have offense going on. That means they wanted offensive-oriented type of players that can score the basketball. This is where you saw the evolution of a Reggie Miller, which is a star and not a superstar, get rampant and become who he was because he was part of that phenomenon of being able to score. If you notice, Reggie Miller was the first one before James Harden, before all of these guys. He's the one that started that. He would just, and he would get fouled to the line. This is what the NBA came to. But when you look at Reggie Miller, why didn't Reggie Miller get over the hump? He lacked defensive responsibility. This is the same thing that's associated with Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard last year, lest y'all forget, lest I have to remind y'all asses. Let me say it again. Lest y'all forget, let's have to remind y'all asses. He got exposed against the Golden State Warriors. Stephen Curry was ram-a-langing him. What was his defense to lock down Stephen Curry? It was nowhere to be found. And then the offense that Damian Lillard provided, he got burnt out, like Joseph Bailey so eloquently stated. You know why? Because they had a guy in Klay Thompson that could put the lock and horns on him. See, this is the one thing about guys that play one side of the equation when it comes to basketball. They are limited because when they play their side of basketball, if they get what we call burnt out, then what ends up happening is they can't even give you that. Because we recall there was games that Damian Lillard shot, you remember this, Jacob Lonewolf, 29%, 30% in that Golden State Warriors playoff series. You know why that happened? Because he burnt out. I was never for Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum re-signing because it was going to be more of the same, y'all. I don't buy into players that are one-sided. HeKnowsHisSport has the ultimate standard when it comes to basketball. I done seen this thing at the highest levels. I'm spoiled. MJ 2-3, KB 2-4, KD Trey 5, Kawhi Leonard. I'm spoiled. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm spoiled by two-sided players. I'm spoiled by players that play on both sides of the equation. You have to do that so that you can get the notion of being called a superstar. That's what the term superstar used to mean. A guy that can play on both sides of the aisle. Giannis Antetokounmpo can do that. That's why he has the right to be called a superstar, because this guy's not only going to be the NBA MVP, he's also going to be the NBA Defensive Player of the Year award, something that hasn't been done since Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon. That's superstar tag right there. Kawhi Leonard, locked down Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then went into the NBA Finals, locked down Stephen Curry. Don't even get me started on Kawhi Leonard. That's a superstar. 2 NBA Finals MVPs. That is what the superstar tag is all about. Kevin Durant basically regressed LeBron James and basically made the legacy officially done, the cachet officially over. But let's not gloss over the fact that Kevin Durant was blocking up LeBron James, ripping up LeBron James in situational basketball. People forget how elite Kevin Durant's defensive awareness was on the basketball court. Damian Lillard is not elite on the defensive end, so he can't be a superstar. So when Skip Bayless is saying take the super out of the star, it's clickbait. You know how you guys see clickbait on YouTube? They put a certain thumbnail up there to get you to click on the video because they know you're going to click, because they know they've already deluded your subconscious. That's the same thing with Damian Lillard's game. It's clickbait, y'all. He's a front runner. He's very good on the offensive end. Yeah, you know the black beanie mode is coming out, man. So I got to keep the proverbial foot on the what on the next. I have to keep the proverbial foot on the what on the next. He's a front runner, y'all. He's a Tony Romo. He's a Zab Judah. He's a James Harden of basketball. He gives you all of these exploits offensively, but when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, he's nowhere to be found. And he is the leader, which is even worse. And remember, the buck stops at the top. And if the top ain't right defensively, everybody else ain't going to be right defensively. They have bad coaching. CJ McCollum is another one that's a pedestrian on defensive end. That's why Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson own those guys. They are literally, and pardon my French, they are literally Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson's bitch. Because not only do those guys score on them, they lock them down and defend them, man. Come on, y'all. We got to call a spade here, man. And it's not going against Damian Lillard. It's just the fact that we have to point this out. If you know basketball at the highest levels, you can't sit here and be selective with the truth. The truth hurts, but it will set you free. It's cold-hearted. It's most visceral. It's cutthroat in its most visceral form. So we got to deliver this thing in totality. Don't be half-truth in these damn truths because you're a Damian Lillard fan or you're a Damian Lillard fanboy or you all about Dame Dollar. We ain't running that over here. We got to point out the weaknesses here. And he fell for Skip Bayless's reverse psychology because Skip Bayless is just a smarter individual. And Damian Lillard, being the fact that he's an NBA star, fell for that bullshit. And look, now he's in a predicament where he's basically buffering up Skip Bayless and talking about Skip. The best way to deal with Skip, because LeBron James is a Class A narcissist, is to not deal with him at all. And the only reason why LeBron knows not to deal with Skip Bayless is because he's a narcissist himself too. Not because LeBron is smart like that. He's just a Class A narcissist. And narcissists know it's got to be only about themselves. So LeBron is not going to talk about Skip because if he talks about Skip, it's going to take away light from him. So LeBron's at least smart enough to know that. But Damian Lillard's missing a few screws up there. He just didn't get it. So basically, he allows Skip Bayless to buffer his point. Now a Skip Bayless can clown you. But here's where I got to get on Skip Bayless. Because a Skip Bayless then became a covert LeBron tart. So when people sit here and say that HeKnowsHisSport is a Skip Bayless Jr., higgity fucking hush. HeKnowsHisSport is only HeKnowsHisSport. I ain't no damn covert LeBron tart. Because Skip Bayless, where I got to get on his ass, is when he turned around and said LeBron James is the best player in basketball. LeBron James has not been the best player in basketball since 2013, y'all. That's facts. Because to be the best player in basketball, you have to have a finals and a finals MVP to denote that. And if you don't have that, I'm sorry, you're not the best. Kawhi Leonard was the best from last year. He's still kind of ushering in until somebody dethrones him. And then prior to that, it was Kevin Durant. And then prior to that, you could say Stephen Curry. But where the heck is LeBron James in the mix? This man hasn't won an NBA Finals since 2013. So I don't want to hear that rubbish. But see, me, I had to come out and bring out the fire extinguisher and extinguish this damn Damian Lillard fire because I got sick and tired of it. Because we have to remember, yes, Damian Lillard can score his ass off offensively, but defensively, he is a pedestrian. And we have to remember that. And now we're talking about going into the playoffs. What is the playoffs all about? Slowing the game down to a snail, slowing it down to a crawl. Now teams can lock in on you more defensively. This goes back to what was talked about when we talked about Kobe Bryant, and he was saying the James Harden game does not work because it's too ISO oriented. You guys remember that? Well, that's the same thing with Damian Lillard. Isn't that what Damian Lillard's doing right now on the basketball court? He's too ISO oriented. This is why he's scoring his butt off. This is why he's putting out exploits of 61 points, 42 points. You can do that if you're playing ISO ball in a seeding of games, but wait till he gets to the playoffs and wait till defenses have to lock in. Because what did Dennis Rodman say in that movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme? And Dennis Rodman is one of the greatest defenders. Offense gets the glory, but defense wins championships. Y'all, let me say it again. Offense gets the glory, but defense wins championships. You know why? Defense wins championships because the truth of the fact of the matter is defense wins championships off of the strength that defense gets the job done. You have to shut people down. You have to stop possessions. You have to lock them down. Lewis Sports Network, I want you to check the recent Undisputed. You'll see where Skip Bayless said that out of his mouth. He said that LeBron James, as a matter of fact, there's an article out. I could send you the link via email so you can see it. He put it out there that LeBron James is the best player in basketball, and his argument against Damian Lillard why LeBron was the best player in basketball was LeBron has all of the prerequisites of being the best player in basketball. What has Damian Lillard done to be the best player in basketball? And he preferenced it by saying LeBron is still the best player in basketball. That's why I lost respect for Skip Bayless. You know me, I wouldn't just say something just to say it. It's everything I say can be quantified, calculated, and verified. So I'll send you the email. When you see it, you're gonna want to drop content on Skip Bayless's ass too. Bottom line is this: Skip Bayless, and what I gotta understand is Skip Bayless ran a reverse psychology, and the reverse psychology that he ran was to see if Damian Lillard was gonna run for the trap bait, and he ran for the trap bait, and that's the sad part about it. And people have to understand. When we look at Damian Lillard's game and we dissect it, we have to ask ourselves, does he pass the true basketball eye test? And when we look at it from a true basketball eye test, he doesn't pass it. So when Kobe Bryant called him a bad boy, going back to Jacob Lonewolf's point, because we always bring everything back into context, Kobe Bryant was saying he was a bad boy offensively. So you guys have to understand the language that these guys talk. Kobe Bryant didn't say he's a complete package bad boy. Kobe Bryant didn't sit there and call him a Brandon Roy. Because if you guys remember, there was a guy on the Portland Trailblazers named Brandon Roy that would have been that dude. The reason why Brandon Roy, now, I had to bring out the encyclopedia on that one. The reason why Brandon Roy didn't last is because he had bone-on-bone knee intrusion. That was one of Rich's favorite players, by the way. That was a legitimate dude right there because he could lock you up, but he could bust you. That's a dude that was that dude for the Portland Trailblazers. He just didn't last in the NBA because his bone-on-bone screwed him over and he had a career-ending injury. But that's a guy that was a two-sided player. That was a two-way player. That was a guy that if you go listen to Kobe Bryant, he called him an ultimate bad boy. And there was a reason for that. Because Brandon Roy would lock you down, but then Brandon Roy would turn around and bust you. Damian Lillard's not locking you down. He's just busting you. And last time I checked, when someone busts you, and being the fact that he's a rhythm shooter, and being the fact that the game is going to slow down, and being the fact that we're talking about playoff basketball and things changing, it means that he's going to get exposed because he's going to be what's called predictable, y'all. And that's why him facing against the likes of the Los Angeles Lakers, I have to pick the Lakers. I'm not the biggest. Anybody knows me. I'm the biggest proverbial keep the foot on the necks on LeBron. But I have to be honest here. Look at the defensive makeup of the Los Angeles Lakers and look at the defensive makeup of the Portland Trailblazers. Come on, y'all. This is calling a spade a spade. Who is the better defensive team? Do I need to spell that out? It's the Los Angeles Lakers. So if they play in a 7-game series, you don't even need the lagooning to happen. They can just beat them off the strength of them just playing more defensive, responsible basketball. That's it. I mean, it's just that obvious. CJ McCollum is a pedestrian on the defensive end. Damian Lillard is a pedestrian on the defensive end. And Hassan Whiteside is the only one that can play defense on that team. Carmelo Anthony, as of late, because he's been picking up his production offensively, he's been slacking on the defensive end as well, too. So when you look at the Portland Trailblazers, this is a team that is prepared to be slaughtered in the NBA playoffs because they lack the most important aspect that you need to get over the hump in basketball, and that's called defense. And that's all I got to say on that. Anything you guys want to say and doubling back on that topic before we jump on the next one?
Yeah, I agree. Is my voice?
Your voice is good, bro. We can hear you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I definitely agree with you. And I think you brought up Brandon Roy. I remember that dude, man. He was a bad man. Remember that game, that Lakers game, 2007 when Kobe scored 65 points. I remember that game. Like Brandon Roy. I remember watching him play. Yeah, he was a really good player. So I just wanted to bring his name up because I think he's definitely forgotten. A lot of people don't remember that guy. So.
Yep. All right. So let's jump on to the next topic, man. As I start bringing in the comments from the chat. All right. Next topic at hand. LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers could beat Damian Lillard and Portland Trailblazers with or without the help because they are better defensively. Jacob Lonewolf, I want you to take off with that one, bro.
Okay. You know what? Yeah, I definitely would agree. You know that the Lakers would beat the Trailblazers. You know, with or without LeBron, because I think that the Lakers have found an identity. You know, and I think in the NBA,
Hmm?
you know, it's all about chemistry. You know, we've seen numerous times throughout history in the NBA where there's been a mediocre team that's been able to beat a team with multiple superstars on it. Like 2 years ago during the 2018 NBA playoffs, the first round with Utah versus OKC when they had Melo, Paul George, and Westbrook, and how if you don't have an identity
Mm-hmm.
and you just play what is it like you play whatever basketball is basically like you give one player basically controls everything, and it's like those type of teams
Mm-hmm.
in basketball where they don't have an identity, and every night they play different ways, and they don't really know who they are, so they play they play in the moment, and they don't really strategize how they're going to play. That's basically how OKC was, and I think that's how the Trailblazers are, and I think with the Lakers, they really don't need LeBron uh, on their team to beat the
Mm-hmm.
Trailblazers because they have found an identity. And chemistry is big when it comes to basketball. You can have all the stars on one team, but if you don't have no chemistry, then you're not going to win. And I just think with the Lakers, they just they have bigger bodies on their team. They're good on both ends of the court. Offensively and defensively. They know the type of system that they play in. And I just think that you know, against the Trailblazers, I think the Trailblazers they're gonna self-sabotage themselves. I just think that the way they play, the Lakers really don't need to play as hard as they should. I think that this is like a fill-in playoff series where they take. So basically, I just think that this is a fill-in playoff series where they just play whatever basketball. I'm going to bring that term up. Whatever basketball is basically it's like freestyle. You know how there's certain teams in the NBA where you can just freestyle them,
Yep.
meaning that you can just play whatever and you don't need to play hard. You're just going to beat them regardless. This is the team
Okay.
the Trailblazers are that team where the Lakers can play whatever, and they really don't need to play that well in order to beat this team. Because I think that with the Trailblazers, they're going to get intimidated and they're going to shrink. They're not going to be able to guard Anthony Davis and other players like Kyle Kuzma, and other players like that. I just think that Trailblazers are going to self-sabotage. I think in the playoffs, everything slows down, and I think with Dame Lillard, like I said before, he's a great offensive player, but he's a pedestrian on the defensive end. And I think when it comes to the playoffs, remember 2 years ago how they went up against the Pelicans? They were the third seed, and the Pelicans were the sixth seed. And the Pelicans swept them. And it goes to show you that even I've seen within the playoffs, in 2017 when they went up against the Warriors in the first round, they got swept as well. Is that when it comes to time when they play in the playoffs, they don't know how to adjust. They don't have basically they don't have any plays in their repertoire that they could use in a certain situation. And what happens is when you're used to playing a certain way and you haven't developed an identity, you go back to what you know. It's the same thing in boxing, where there's some boxers like that basically know how to throw punches, but they don't know how to guard up defensively. That's how the
Exactly.
Blazers are. And I think that there's other teams like that as well. In the NBA, that are the same, kind of the same as the Trailblazers, and I just think that they're not going to be able to fare well with the Lakers. When it comes time for playoffs.
Yep. Richy Rich, what's your take on that?
Yeah, once again, great points, Jacob. Yeah, I mean, we already know the Lakers are going to win this series. If the Portland do what they're supposed to do tomorrow and beat the Grizzlies and get that 8th spot to play the Lakers, I mean, they have a team to make it interesting. But the problem is, like Jacob mentioned before, is chemistry. You know, I think this the COVID virus, you know, the shutdown of the NBA, it's kind of made this team kind of lose, you know, their identity. You know, Nurkic, he just came right back playing in this bubble. He didn't get to play in those games before the shutdown. So it's a chemistry that they got to regain playing with Nurkic. Although he's a talented big, you know, you can see, you know, he can do some things and there's some things that he's not trying to do. He could play on both ends. So I think he's going to be able to make the Lakers pay on some occasions, but defensively, he's not going to be able to stop.
He's going to get ragtag.
Because he's a step slower than Anthony Davis. To be able to guard a big like AD, you got to have foot speed. You got to be able to stay in front of him, and you got to be able to contest his shots. Because AD, like I talked about in the last live, his release is slow. I don't know if people pay attention to that. He's a big. You just don't fall for his pump fakes because he likes to pump. He knows his release is slow. He doesn't have a quick release. He's gonna try to pump fake you, or he's gonna try to jab step you, or he's gonna try to use the first step. You got to be able to stay in front of him and can't fall for his fakes. And you got him. That's how you hinder a player. That's how you hinder AD's game. This is what Pascal Siakam showed in that Toronto. That's the hand that Pascal Siakam showed in that game when they played Toronto. Pascal shut that man down. You know, as a defender, you got to be go in that high level of breakdown. You got to be able to know the nuances of a player. Portland don't have a big like that can do that to AD, so they're not really going to stop the Lakers. AD's going to average high numbers in that series, but Portland can make it interesting. Their backs are, you know, they get in and they're able to play the Lakers. They know they're the underdogs. Going with an underdog mentality. There's not going to be any fans, so you know, players that we call role players, scrubs, you know, guys that don't normally get high minutes. You can go in there, and you know, fans are not going to be, you know, screaming, giving you pressure to miss shots, or if you're at the free throw line, you know, you don't have to worry about fans screaming at you where you'll miss a high pressurized free throw. So I mean, they could have a puncher's chance, but they're not going to win. They could just, you know, what they can do is they could just make the Lakers work harder to win the series. Push it to 6 games instead of it going to 5 or it being an actual sweep. Because that's what the analysts are going to say. They're going to say that the Lakers are probably going to beat them in 5 games. I think that the Blazers, if they go in with confidence, they could probably push it to 6 games. Because guess what? The Lakers have players on their squad that are not tuned with what the Lakers are doing. Deion Waiters is still trying to find his spot on that team. J.R. Smith is not integrated yet. You know, Avery Bradley's not there. So I expect Damian Lillard to go off. That's a player that would have been able to give Damian Lillard some fits because Avery Bradley, he's a pretty good defender, and he's not in this boat. So they're going to try to put Danny Green on these players, but Danny Green is a step slower. He's not what he used to be as a defender. You know, he's a little older, so those guys are quicker than him. Those guys are going to be able to score on him, beat him, get the first step. So they have to at least win a couple games in this series if they play smarter and if they play with some confidence. But if they go in with you know, conceding to the Lakers, playing with a losers mentality, laying down, the Lakers are going to beat them in 5, or it's going to be a possible sweep. But you know, they really could have used Trevor Ariza and Rodney Hood in this series. I felt that if they had those players, they would have been able to have a shot. You know, Lakers still would have been the favorite, but with that depth in the backcourt, on the wings, the Blazers would have had some oomph there. You know, Damian Lillard would have been able to score. He wouldn't have to worry about scoring as much because Rodney Hood could score and he could play defense. Trevor Ariza could hit that occasional 3, and he's a 3-and-D guy. He can hit that occasional 3 and he can defend. But because of their lack of depth at the wings, they don't stand a chance in this series. And because they're bigs, Hassan Whiteside is coming off injury, and Nurkic came off injury, and he just started playing with these guys again in this bubble. So there's a lack of chemistry there. You see it in bubble, the way that they've been playing as a team, taking ill-advised shots, not looking for Nurkic down low as they should. They just don't play smart basketball. As the chat pointed out when we were on that topic earlier. So the Lakers are going to beat them. The Lakers are a better team. Their stars are better, and they have a better chemistry with their role players. They know what their identity is, as Jacob pointed out. So the Lakers are going to win this one.
Great points, man. And I'm glad everybody harped on those points. Bottom line is we got to look at Damian Lillard, just like Lewis Sports Network just agree with. He knows he's a star, an all-star, but not a superstar. What's good with you, Jalik the leader? What's good, Tom Ross? What's good, Rip B. Brazy? What's good? I love this game. What's good with everybody that's in the chat? Bottom line is we have to look at the bottom line characters that's on the basketball court between the Portland Trail Blazers and the Los Angeles Lakers. AD is going to have a mismatch at his position. LeBron James is going to have a mismatch at his position. These are the two best guys on the court. And allude back to Tom Ross's point where he said the Portland Trail Blazers are not going to beat the Lakers without LBJ and AD tandem. Yeah, you're right. But that tandem is going to be there. They're going to be healthy, and they're going to be on the basketball court. And that tandem alone is overwhelming for the Portland Trail Blazers. They have to deal with that onslaught of that tandem. Name me a guy on the Portland Trail Blazers that can lock up LeBron James. If you can't name me that, we got a problem. Name me a guy on the Portland Trail Blazers that can lock up Anthony Davis. If you can't name me that, and he is the guy that's leading statistically in 90% of the categories in terms of stats for the Portland Trail Blazers, Houston, we have a problem. So just off of those mismatches, because people underrate mismatches in basketball. That's another thing people don't talk about. Those mismatches alone will suffocate the Portland Trail Blazers. How do you think Kobe and Shaq and their dynasty dominated the way they did? The Lakers team is not always fully stacked up. They did a lot of counting on Kobe and Shaq. They got pieces here and there later on in between with Robert Horry and them. But for the most part, it was the workhorse of two guys, Kobe and Shaq's mismatch, because they knew there was no shooting guard that was better than Kobe, and there was no center that was better than Shaq. This is what the Lakers have in comparison to the Portland Trail Blazers. They have two positions at small forward and at power forward / center that can't be guarded. So that's going to be a nightmare for the Portland Trail Blazers to have to deal with. That alone makes it overwhelming. If we're talking X's and O's here, the Portland Trail Blazers, I don't care what Damian Lillard puts up. Again, he's not a two-sided player. Damian Lillard is not going to be able to lock up somebody on the Los Angeles Lakers on the other side of the basketball court. CJ McCollum's not going to be able to do that. So that's the problem. What happens when their offense collapses? Because we've seen this before from the Portland Trail Blazers. See, this is the problem with people. They like to follow and they like to run when they hear hoopla stories. Yes, Per doesn't lie, but Per also tells you what it tells you. It's the storyline of what it tells you. What is the Per behind Damian Lillard? The Per is his offense is off the charts. But what is his Per on defensive side? See, don't give me just half of the story. Give me the full story. What is the Per on his defensive side of the ball? It tells you he's allergic to defense. So that tells me he's a half-truth or a walking half-truth on the basketball court. And I can't get behind that. I'm sorry. That's just my thing with that. Now let's jump on to the next topic, man. All right. Why did Phoenix Suns get eliminated from after going 8-0 in the seeding games, but the Memphis Grizzlies make it? Their last 10 games, the Suns were at 9-1, and the Grizzlies were 3-7. Jacob Lonewolf, I want your take on this, man, because this to me is ridiculous. Why did the Memphis Grizzlies skate ahead of the Phoenix Suns when both of them ended with the same basketball record? This is ridiculous to me.
Yeah, like I was just reading that before, and I was literally surprised, that the Phoenix Suns didn't advance into the play-in tournament, and I've always wondered, like, because like this has happened before. Like I've seen in 82 regular season games where like there were certain teams, right, that were like the ninth team that didn't make the eighth seed, the ninth seed that didn't make the eighth seed. The team that were up ahead of them, they had the same record. What do you think factors in a team having the same record as another team, but they make it to the playoffs? Is it the way they play during the season, or how is it like? Because I'm confused. Like that's kind of odd to me.
Exactly.
Before I answer that, but yeah, I just think that this is the problem I had with the basically the 8 game uh, regular season games before the playoffs was that it's so misleading, because like the NBA players had 4 months off, and when they came back, it was kind of dicey because before the pandemic, Memphis was playing pretty good, and the Suns they weren't playing as well as they could, but when they came back during the pandemic, they went 8-0, and I just felt like that's just unfair to the Suns to just leave Devin Booker, who's playing really good, during this pandemic. He busted up Kawhi and Paul George. He hit the game winner on them during the Clippers game. He bet the Mavs last night. And God only knows that if they were to be in that play-in tournament, that I reckon that they would have made the playoffs. Just the momentum and just how things were going. I felt like Portland or the Grizzlies wouldn't have beat them. I just think that this is kind of dicey because I just think I've seen this happen before where teams that didn't make the playoffs, they had the same record as the team that made the eighth seed, and I just think that with the NBA having this 8 game rule, I think that maybe they could have made it odd, but I don't know how that would have gone. Where I think it would have been fair to have these teams face off, and they would have advanced because they had 1 extra game ahead of the other team. I think that would have been good, but I don't know how that would have worked out. But I just felt like this is the problem I had with the NBA coming back. Because now you're gonna have a lot of these uneven, imbalanced situations where a team like it's the Suns that didn't play well, but they won 8 games straight. They come play. I don't see how that's a good look for the NBA, and I just think that it was just rushed. I just think that they didn't factor in everything, and I just think that even though I felt like you can't hate on the Memphis Grizzlies making into the play-in tournament, but I just felt like it was just too rushed, and I think that this is something I've always wanted. I couldn't answer as I wanted to, but I'm confused about how certain teams, even before this pandemic, they would have the same record as the other team, but they would not make the playoffs. So, I'll let you two have it, and I will just listen.
Okay. Richy Rich, what's your take on it?
I mean, there's a reason why it's set up that way because they're still counting those games that were played during the season. I went and I looked back between the games against Memphis and Phoenix. They played 4 times. Grizzlies beat Phoenix 3 times out of their 4, the 4 times that they played. So they've already had those games on Phoenix, even though that they all had about the same record in the bubble, or they ended with the same record because Phoenix won all those 8 games. They're still including those games that Memphis beat them the majority of the times in the season before the pandemic shut down the season. So that's why Memphis, they're still giving Memphis the edge over Phoenix. But I mean, it makes sense because you want to count those games because they still are counting those games. They're just adding the 8 games in. So it's only fair. That's what they would do if they had the normal playoff setting. If this never happened and we were going to go into the playoffs, they go by the seeding would go by, okay, who won the majority of the times in the meetings, and then that's how you set everything up. Yeah, that's how you set everything up, pretty much. So Phoenix. No, I said that's how everything is set up through the seeding from the regular season games that are played. So Phoenix, they did a tremendous job, man. They like their coach said, Monty Williams, man. They got to hold their heads up because they went into this bubble and they did their thing. So are they going to be one of those teams, man, that carry that forward into next season, or that play just dissipates and they become that Phoenix Suns that they've been for the last 4 or 5 years, where they've been irrelevant? You know, they got to start. I knew they were going to be a better team because they brought in Ricky Rubio, but they got some decent players. They got Dario Saric, they got Cameron Johnson, they got the center that they drafted, DeAndre Ayton. He looks like he's going to be something in this league. Booker, he's becoming an emerging star player. He's going to be an all-star. You know, he's got to keep working on his game. You know, just how we were talking about in the topics earlier about, you know, him, you know, bringing more on the other end, the defensive end. That's how you step into that superstar league when you become that two-way guy, you know, and it's on a consistent basis. You're not cheating the game. We know he could flat out score with anybody, but the defensive end, what can you do on the defensive end? Can you check your man? Can you lock him up? You know, if he's able to do that, he's going to be able to bring that team to a whole nother level. And they got to keep adding more pieces. So we that's a team. That's definitely a team to look out for. You know, with the way that they surprised everybody in this bubble. But it's going to be an interesting game tomorrow with Memphis and Portland, man. But I think both those teams are going to come out and play. But I think Portland's going to edge it out. It's not going to be. No one's going to blow each other out. It's going to go to the. It might go down to the wire, like that game with Brooklyn that Portland played with yesterday. Because Memphis trying to get that A spot too, but I just think that, you know, they lost that one of their young up and coming players, Jaren Jackson Jr. He tore his meniscus, so I think that's going to be the difference in why they won't be able to beat Portland. So I'm looking forward to watching that game. So hopefully it's a good one.
Yep. So I'm just debunking people because they're sitting here saying name point guards. I'm naming point guards left and right defensively, and they don't know how to just I got to keep up, man. I see y'all slowing down, man. Hey, I could dominate in the chat. I could dominate in the chat now if I have to. Don't give me no excuses. See, they giving me excuses for Damian Lillard. I think we kept the foot on the necks too much on Damian. They giving me excuses, so I had to throw and Richy Rich. I want you to harp on this, and you, Jacob Lonewolf. Richy Rich, explain to these people because they laughing at Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is a great situational defensive point guard, man. Derrick Rose has locked down Stephen Curry in recent years in fourth quarters and bust him, man. I don't know if y'all know basketball. I have to start questioning people's basketball brains up in here because the stuff that I'm hearing in the comments, even from those that I'm like, man, you should know the game. I gotta question people now, dog. Do y'all even watch basketball at the highest levels, or do y'all just watch basketball? Derrick Rose has locked people down in situational basketball. Look at this. Derrick Rose, you went to Derrick damn Rose. Do you watch basketball, leader? Do you watch basketball? I'm gonna have to get on you, bro. Maybe boxing is your thing and basketball ain't. Maybe you need to just stick to boxing, bro. Because when it comes to basketball, I don't know. If you didn't know that, maybe I have to school you on that. Derrick Rose don't play full-time defense, but Derrick Rose plays great situational defense. He locks you down in key moments, and then he busts you. Richy Rich, I want you to hop on that. And the reason why I'm throwing the line at Richy Rich is because Derrick Rose is Richy Rich's favorite player, so he's a subject matter expert on D Rose. Go ahead and harp them on that, man.
I've seen D Rose lock up some of the best, man. He's locked up Kyrie. He's locked up Damian Lillard. He's locked up Stephen Curry. I mean, he's giving Russell Westbrook fits. He's giving all these players fits. I don't know what you guys been watching, man. Now, does he commit fully to the defensive end? No, but when he wants to. Derrick Rose is a very capable defender. When he wants to, man, he can lock up some of these guys. He's even locked up even John Wall. I've even seen Rose lock up John Wall too. Boy, because Derrick Rose, man, he's a strong point guard. He's not one of them. He's not one of them soft dudes. Them scrawny point guard. He could get out and he could actually check these dudes, man, rip them up. There was one time when Kyrie was in the Cavs. Kyrie kept trying to. It's in one of those games where it was before LeBron went. It's even when LeBron went to the Cavs. He was able to have Kyrie shoot like a bad field goal percentage. Kyrie was trying to make it a point to try to go at Rose, but he couldn't score on him because Rose was applying that pressure. He was playing some really good defense on him, and Rose was going at him. Rose was scoring on him. Rose was torching that dude. And Stephen Curry, with that game where where Rose hit that step back game winner on Klay Thompson's grill. You remember that game?
I remember that game.
Rose locked up. He locked him up, man. He locked him up. That was the game where he locked up Curry. Curry couldn't do anything in the fourth quarter and overtime. He locked him up, and he was giving Curry and he was giving Klay buckets in that game. That's why D Rose's body is not the way it used to be, man. It really had him playing. They didn't really have a lot of scoring options on that team, man. Now that's a team that solely relied on Rose to do what he had to do. It was basically
Tom Thibodeau ran him into the ground. What y'all don't understand is D Rose didn't even touch his full potential yet because Tom Thibodeau ran him into the ground. If Tom Thibodeau didn't run D Rose into the ground, man, we're talking about a whole new evolution of what D Rose would have done to the point guard game, man. Tom Thibodeau, I blame his ass. He ran D Rose to the freaking ground, man.
I mean, you can blame Tom Thibodeau, but you got to blame that front office as well, man. They didn't do a good job of putting more talent, securing more talent to get on the team. Because you remember how D Wade played them, and he put that rumor in the media saying that they have a questionable front office, that they didn't treat Scottie Pippen right. They didn't treat Jordan right. D-Wade put that rumor out there and it hurt them. So they weren't able to get any free agents, man, at all. Nobody wanted to go there. Players were just using the Bulls as leverage for another team. When they were free agents, so they could sign to another team, but they would play the Bulls and go to somewhere else. So that team, man, Rose, man, Rose.
That's why I had you explain it, because he put this up here. D Rose playing defense. Put a link up. Listen, man, you got access to YouTube. Just put Derrick Rose. Man? Just put Derrick Rose locks down Stephen Curry. Derrick Rose locks down Kyrie Irving. Do that right now. YouTube it. You'll see what I'm talking about. D Rose can play his ass off on the defensive end. D Rose has locked down Russell Westbrook. Put it. The reason why I'm saying this with confidence is because while I'm talking to you, I Googled it just to make sure it was there. I'm telling you, man, D Rose has locked down some of the top point guards in basketball. You gotta stick to boxing, bro. Stick to boxing. Anyways, let me get back to the Phoenix Suns, Richy Rich, because we done already said what we had to say. Here's the thing, and I gotta say this last part on lockdown defense. What people have to understand is you have to understand what a lockdown defender is, and I think I think HeKnowsHisSport has to explain this, because I'm seeing in the comment section where it's saying a lockdown defender is somebody that plays defense full time. Well, if that's the case, Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan is disqualified. They don't play defense full time. They take plays off. This is Kobe we talking about. This is MJ we talking about. So they not a lockdown defender because they take plays off. To say that you play defense full time, that means you got to play defense the whole game. We're going to hold this by the technicality of what the verbiage means. You got to play the whole game defensively. You got to be a Doberman pitcher like a Tony Allen. Tony Allen does defense all game. That's a guy who doesn't take plays off. See, there's levels to this defense shit. Don't make me take out the playbook and explain to you guys what defense is all about. Because if I have to do that, then I'm gonna have to do that. Tony Allen is a guy that plays defense all the way around. Kobe don't play full-time defense. Jordan don't play full-time defense. So does that mean they're not lockdown defenders? Higgity hush with that. A lockdown defender is somebody that can get on you, and lock you down at any given point, in any given time, whether if it's full time, whether if it's situational, or whether if it's throughout the aspects of the game. Lockdown defenders like a Kobe Jordan, because they have so much that they got to do on the basketball court. A Kawhi Leonard too, so much you got to do on the basketball court. Kevin Durant, so much you got to do on the basketball court. They lock you down in situational moments because there's so many things they have to do. If they're sitting here locking you down for 48 minutes, they can't score for 48 minutes. They can't do other things for 48 minutes. This is the reason why they call them the all-around lockdown defenders, because they can only do these things in situational moments, especially as they advance in age. So don't even get me started with that. So lockdown defense is not full-time defense. Lockdown defense is being able to lock a person down at any given point and at any given time, depending on the situation. That is the full and the most truest version of what a lockdown defender is. Chris Paul was that in the beginning of his career. This is why he was considered a pit bull on the defensive end, a literal pit bull. But then as age started to wane, Chris Paul started to lose his ability. He's now what I would say a very good defender. Because if Chris Paul at this old age, and you guys saw that with Oklahoma City Thunder, is still going out there and defending cats, I ain't got time to be dealing with all of these other point guards out here that's not putting in defense. I've seen it. I watched the highlights. Chris Paul's out there defending people. So what's the excuse for Damian Lillard? See, this is the thing. When you like somebody and you want to prop them up, you want to be selective about how you agree with what they're saying. Here's the thing about the truth. There's no halfness in truth. It's either you're total with it, it's either you give totality with it, or it's either you just leave it alone. There's no half truths here, because half truths is a lie. You can't sit here and say that Damian Lillard is a superstar. The word superstar, like I told you guys, is denoted by somebody that plays elite on both sides of the ball. That's what the truest definition of superstar is. Nowadays, if you guys going by this Rudy Poo generation nonsense, if you allowed your brain to be NLP or neuro-linguistic program into thinking that this is what it is now, then go ahead and accept that. Now, let me get back to the Phoenix Suns. I didn't like what I saw because bottom line is, and I have to say this, Jacob Lonewolf, they're pushing a narrative here, man. They want Ja Morant there in the playoffs. That's what it's about, man. Y'all got to see this stuff for what it is. But for a team like the Phoenix Suns to be 8-0, have the best record in the seeding games, and for them to not go and still end up with the same record as the Memphis Grizzlies, I have a fundamental problem with that. And I believe the NBA knows exactly what they were doing by allowing Ja Morant and them to get there as opposed to Devin Booker. Because let's keep it a buck here. If Devin Booker would have gotten to that damn playoffs, he would have been a problem for those teams. Don't y'all feel that? He would have been a problem. And they didn't want him there. So that's why the Phoenix Suns didn't make it. And I'm glad people in the comment section is at least agreeing with that, even though they're showcasing that they have loopholes in their way of seeing defense. And see, this is why I brought up the defensive videos as of late, because I wanted to see where people's mindset was at when it came to defense. Again, Tom Ross, Kobe did not play full-time defense. You got to tell me what your definition of full-time defense is. Full-time defense is playing 48 minutes of defense on the basketball court. Nobody does that unless you are a defensive specialist, i.e. Tony Allen's, i.e. What was that dude's name that locked down Kobe Bryant and then locked down LeBron James? James Posey, the master, the guy that taught the guy that Tony Allen learned at the foot of his defense. James Posey is a guy that can boast that he locked down LeBron James and locked down Kobe Bryant in a calendar year. Nobody can boast that. James Posey can't. These are what we call defensive specialists. These are the guys that lock in on defense. Guys like Trevor Ariza. These are what we call defensive specialists. You know why we call them defensive specialists? Because that's their job, to play defense on your ass all game. Bruce Bowens was like that. Kobe is not what we call a defensive specialist. He is a lockdown defender. That is a completely different argument. Anyways, let's go on to the next topic. I see there's levels to this basketball knowledge. People got basketball knowledge, but they don't have the fullness thereof. That's why y'all fucking with this platform, because I can teach y'all a thing or two. Anyways, on to the next topic. We're going to talk about Chris Broussard. This dude is a super Saiyan LeBron tard for saying that LeBron and AD will win the NBA title. It's so interesting that a Super Saiyan LeBron Tard can turn around and a Super Saiyan LeBron Tard can basically say that LeBron and AD and the Lakers will win the NBA title. The reason why I'm saying Super Saiyan LeBron Tard is because what is prevalent about Chris Broussard as well, too, Jacob Lonewolf and Richy, is he's an NBA insider. He has NBA inside track information. So when he tells you guys that LeBron and AD will win the title, you guys have to sit there, look at the camera screen, and say things that make you say, Things that make you say, Jacob Lonewolf, while I go ahead and chew up the comment section, because, I got to get back on them with this whole defense stuff. Go ahead and give me your take, brother.
Yeah, but before I go into the Christmas side, when you brought up D Rose, definitely, like that guy, sad what happened to him with the injuries, man. Because I remember the game that you were talking about. I think it was in the 2014-2015 season. It was at Golden State. I remember that game. That was a pretty good game between D Rose and Steph Curry. So definitely, I encourage everybody to watch that game. It was like an epic game. But yeah, with Chris Broussard, I'm not surprised that he said that the Lakers will win. I mean, come on, he knows they've been singing this song for like his entire career. They've been saying this for ages, So that doesn't surprise me that he said that the Lakers will win. Because if you're giving your prediction, then you have that right to make it. But the thing with Chris Broussard, as we've seen with the NBA, unfortunately in sports, is that there's a lot of politics, man. And what's happening with sports, I think now it's become a narrative-driven league, meaning that it's almost like everybody knows what's going to happen. Everything is laid out. It's like it's not up in the air. It's like not like there's certain situations that are meant to happen, and that they're literally telling you what's going to happen and that the Lakers are going to win, whether it be, one of the Clippers players get injured or likely they're going to use the goon refs to basically rob the Clippers of their chances of beating the Lakers and winning an NBA championship or the Bucks. Maybe that's why, because I remember I watched your video yesterday about Chris Broussard, and you basically talking about how he was an NBA insider. Just that word alone basically let me know what you're saying he knows is that he's inside, like he knows what's going on. He hears the chirps, what's happening in the bubble, And that's one of the reasons why they wanted to bring the NBA back was obviously the main reason is to get the revenue back. That's the main reason. And then the other reason was to help LeBron win that NBA championship, because that's what they're trying to do, And I know there's going to be a weird analogy. It's like in Egypt, right? It's like the present pharaoh. The present pharaoh always wants to deface the last pharaoh, And that's what the NBA is trying to do with LeBron. They're trying to make LeBron win this championship so then they can deface Michael Jordan because they want everybody to buy into their bullshit. They're always trying to look for narratives instead of allowing things to be the way they are and allowing things to be just and fair for everybody, And we see with the NBA bubble, with the Phoenix Suns winning 8 games, we got to give them credit for that. But also, you have to look at it that teams are not playing, they're not focused, There's a lot of things that are going on in the world, And the Phoenix Suns, they weren't playing this well during the regular season before the pandemic. So with them winning with them winning 8 straight games, there's a lot of things that are happening. A lot of superstar players are sitting out. A lot of teams, they don't have their players on their team because of the pandemic. So there's a lot of things that are going on in this NBA bubble. And the fact I watched the videos the other day, and it really let me know that this shit's planned. I think this is planned, and I think that they're gonna try by all means to make LeBron win that NBA championship, and I think they're going to. Before the pandemic, the Bucks were playing very good, and we have to give the Bucks credit because I feel like he knows, the way that they were playing, even though the Clippers would have beaten the Lakers, I think the Bucks that team is just too monstrous. I think the Clippers would have beaten it, but it would have been one of those series where it could have gone either way. Because I think Giannis is a monster, and I think once he starts hitting those threes as he improved this season, where you could see that. I think that was a game. It was last year. It was in Milwaukee when the Lakers went to Milwaukee and they got beat down by the Bucks, and Giannis, gave them the business. I think that the Milwaukee, they were a scary team, even though they lost Brompton. They were like a scary team. And I think they would have given the Lakers or the Clippers their money. But I just think that there's obviously inside information that we don't know, and we can also tell. During this pandemic, there's a lot of things that can be planned. With obviously the COVID testing, this is what they can do. He knows this is how they can make LeBron's path to the NBA championship easy. They can be like, okay, one of the Clippers players, one of like the big major superstar players, they got COVID-19. They have to sit out. So now LeBron can win the NBA championship and basically be a championship. Because even though they say there's zero results, we don't know. We don't know how they're testing these players. We don't know if this is like basically a well thought out test where they're actually trying to test them well, or if it's like a quick test and then they basically say, oh, they're negative, even though they may have some symptoms and they may be positive. So I think that there's so many variables that LeBron can win an NBA championship, and I think this is the best time in his career where he can win an NBA championship. Obviously during the 2016 NBA Finals, when they suspended Draymond for that bogus situation, where he accidentally hit LeBron in the crouch, and they were able to win those 3 straight games. I think that in this NBA bubble, there's a lot of variables that can happen. There's a lot of excuses that they can use, as well as like injuries can happen, COVID, certain players that they could probably contract the coronavirus that they would have to sit out this entire playoff series. So there's a lot of things that can go on during this pandemic. But I think the number one goal is for them to make LeBron win that NBA championship. So then they could use this to say he's past Kobe Bryant, because he has more finals MVP, and he can be now in the discussion with MJ, because they're using this pandemic as a way to basically say this is going to be the most toughest championship that anyone's ever had to win. With what's going on, they're going to bring up the Black Lives Matter movement, what happened. They're going to bring up Kobe's death, and they're going to bring external forces that basically have no effect on an NBA championship, and they're going to use that on LeBron's side and say this was the hardest championship that anyone's ever had to win. And because of what LeBron did, because of him winning the NBA championship, like they're going to skip several steps for him to be compared to Michael Jordan, and then they're really going to say, oh, he's actually past MJ because he speaks out on social issues. This is what they do, and this is what these NBA. I've heard these fans say LeBron is the GOAT because he speaks on political issues. He does most for the community. What the hell does that have to do with being the greatest player of all time? What the hell does that have to do with being the GOAT? It doesn't matter if you're into politics. What matters is how you are on that 94 hardwood, 94 feet hardwood. That's all that matters. And I just think I just think this is planned, and I think this is the best way for LeBron to win the NBA championship.
Facts. Man, great points, man. Jacob just came by and just blew this thing away. Richy Rich, man, what's your take on it? The chat is heating up just as much as the panel, boy. I'm loving it, man. What's your take on it, Richy Rich? Oh, let me just say this real quick. I just want to say this because we gonna touch this slim pickings. Yeah, James Harden is a Tony Romo, aka Zab Judah of basketball. There you go, Jalik. I want you to laugh. He's a front runner, man. He's a Tony Romo / Zab Judah of basketball. He's a front runner. That guy is allergic on the defensive end, so he's a all-star level player. See, y'all gotta stop Rudy Pooling and plum braining y'all standards of basketball, man. That's a all-star level basketball player. He's not a superstar. To be a superstar, you gotta be elite on both sides of the basketball court. That's it. Mic drop. Richy Rich, what's your take on it?
Man, Jacob Lonewolf went in on that topic, man. What more is to say? He basically eight-miled the situation where, Eminem basically said everything he could say, so he didn't give the other guy material to diss him on. I don't know if you saw that movie, Jacob, but hey, man, I don't know what this. I'm just joking, but you basically done covered everything, basically with the Lakers on how they're gonna try to paint narratives and stuff like that. If they do actually win this title, as Chris Broussard said, the so-called insider. Uh, they basically have everything going for them. Right now, the NBA done restarted. They got the two guys that they're talking about, LeBron and AD. Kyle Kuzma is playing pretty good in this bubble. There's really no pressure, no fans. If role players want to play good, this is the atmosphere to play good in. There's no pressure from fans being there. So you might see some players on the Lakers that wouldn't normally step up in an atmosphere setting where if there's fans cheering, getting on you, these guys might actually show up now. Like what's his name? That Caucasian point guard on the Lakers, Alex Caruso. Him, man, he's playing pretty good in this bubble, man. I mean, that guy, he's not. He's like a role player on that team, but he looks better than what he really is. Maybe because it's the setting that they're playing in. No fans, so there's really no pressure. He could just go out and play with nothing limiting him, no restraints. And plus, they have all the media backing, the media support backing them. So they're going in with a different confidence level than other teams. Other teams aren't getting covered like the Lakers are. So you brought up some great points, man. But wouldn't it be great if they still don't win with all this favoritism on their side? it'd be lovely. I ain't gonna lie, I got a bet riding on this. So them boys better not win, so I can collect my dollars.
The bet on who? On who not winning?
On LeBron not winning. The Clippers beat LeBron, and him not winning a championship title for the Lakers. So I got two bets riding on this. So I hope this dude don't get it done, so I can collect on that cash. You feel me? But
hey, at least you keep it real. I'm a prediction kid, so I'm picking the Lakers to win, so they gotta win, bro.
Yeah, hey. I know you're a prediction kick, but I'm hoping your prediction don't come true. Hey, so yeah. Listen, you guys make great points. Yeah. So the Lakers, man, hey, it looks like they might take this thing because this setting fits them. Plus, we heard of LeBron James. He was practicing with his teammates in Bel Air when he was not supposed to be practicing. He was keeping himself in shape and playing ball when he was not supposed to be among people because of that pandemic. He was supposed to be isolated with him and his family, but he was out here playing ball with the teammates on the Lakers. So we don't know what those other teammates, those other teams were doing in the midst of the pandemic when basketball was cut off from us, shut down. Those teams are saying they weren't with each other. They weren't playing ball.
Let's answer her question real quick. I love this game. She said, do you guys think everyone associated with the NBA, including the players, are in on it? I do.
Yeah, I mean, they could know. They could have some inside information, but it'd be sad if they were in on it because I do everything in my power to disrupt a rig or a farce of something like this. If I know they favoring this guy to win, but I could do something about it. If I'm a team that's gonna go up against him, listen, man. You're just not gonna beat me like that, man. He's not gonna have an easy path to a ring. I'm hoping it's not like that, but from what we've seen from the NBA in the past, yeah, these guys could probably know what it is, man. Because we've heard the referees, Tim Donaghy, that guy was cheating on games. The mob was involved. all that stuff that we heard. You know what I'm saying? Hey, the apple don't fall too far from the tree.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, it might be scripted for the Lakers, but I'm hoping it don't go down like that because I already said what I got writing on this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man, boys, Jacob, Lonewolf, and Richy, y'all boys ain't come to play, man. Y'all boys ain't come to play. Let me see. We got our last topic here, man. Why did Michael Jordan and Kobe? Why the Michael Jordan and the Kobe Bryant game is the most dominant game in basketball? And LeBron James, no matter what he does, will never catch him. It's interesting that the chat already got ahead of us on the last topic, but that's the last topic of discussion. Why the Michael Jordan and the Kobe Bryant game is the most dominant game in basketball. And no matter what LeBron James does, he will never catch them. Jacob Lonewolf, what's your take on it, brother?
I just think that, there's so many things that go into that, but just to break it down, I just think that Kobe and MJ, they basically, like an orange juice, they basically squeeze all the juice out of that orange, So what that basically means is that they maximize their full potential, meaning that they pretty much mastered every facet of the game, in terms of like footwork, they're athletic, they weren't just skilled, they weren't players that didn't have the athletic. No, these guys had all the physical tools and they maximized their tools as they should. That's what true alphas do, And I remember, I think I was talking to Hinos the other day about how, particularly when you're an alpha, you're constantly at war every single day with yourself. Like you're always constantly trying to get better. And I think that's how MJ and Kobe were, and still is, because they're constantly at war every single day with themselves, meaning that, because I think, they're the type of players like they could have gone comfortable, because they've mastered everything, but it's that do or die attitude, it's that live or die attitude to a point that pushed them every single day, they constantly got better every single day, you hear numerous of stories of how, Kobe he was very tuned in, like he wanted to learn every single detail, and when you watch Kobe and MJ play, there's a fluidity to their game. There's a fluidity, meaning that even though they're having an off night, they're just so skilled to the point where their skill set carries them throughout the game, And the thing when you watch LeBron play is, even though LeBron is a freak of nature, we got to give him that, like he is like in terms of like passing ability, I've never seen someone that could pass the ball that crisp, I just think that when I watch LeBron play, there's no fluidity, It's everything is like sometimes like when he goes for a jump shot, like he pauses for a bit. There's like certain lapses where in the game where if you ever watch the game, like LeBron, when he's doing like a fadeaway, right? And he does like a spin turn around, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like the way he would do it, even though it would go in, like it's like a mad truck, like it's like that stop and go, and then he's like thinking about, oh, should I do this move? That's when I watch LeBron play. Usually, most of the times, particularly when he's trying to do the fadeaway, because I've noticed that, particularly when it comes to his post game. See, MJ and Kobe, they mastered that post game, at their size, And the thing with the post game is that even though it's like you don't really need to exert that much energy, particularly when you're on the perimeter and you have to do your move, it's probably like I would say one of the hardest because it's pretty much your footwork and your skill set. Whereas if you're at the top of the key, you have a lot of room to dribble the basketball and you can do a lot at the top of the key. Whereas in the post, your back is to the basket and you're running on instinct and you're running on your footwork and all of that, And a lot of players don't master that part of the game, that post game. I think that's a very crucial part of the game that we really don't talk about because that's the part of the game to where you're less likely to get injured and you're not exerting too much force, and you're pretty much using your skill set, and your footwork, whereas LeBron, even though he hasn't I don't think he's mastered his post game at all. I just think that there's levels to it, you know. MJ and Kobe, you know, I think their career from the free throw line, what is like a career 80%, like the mid 80s, early 90s percentage of free throws. These guys are great three point shooters, man. Like when they move, it's almost like it's very what's the word? Very fluid, you know. The hang time, everything, man. I just the way they conduct themselves, you know, those type of play, like those type of breeds of MJ and Kobe. I don't think that we'll ever see two of those players ever again. You know, and
Exactly.
I'm just blessed to see that. Even though I didn't watch MJ play, I watched Kobe play. It's very weird because like MJ was like an anomaly. You know, we've never seen a player like him, and the fact that there was a player just like MJ is very alien-like. You know, it's like when you see someone that's just like you, you're like, damn, like is this even real? You know, that's how I saw MJ and Kobe. Like they played uh, towards MJ's towards the end of his career. You know, I'm just fortunate enough to see that they played against each other because I felt like those are two of the best players to ever play the game. Those are the top two players on my list, you know, of all time. You know, I didn't watch the '60s or the '70s or whatever, but I just feel like when it comes to basketball, when you look at a complete basketball player, you look at MJ and Kobe. You know, they had the physical tools along with the work ethic to basically be the best basketball players ever, and that's scary. And I feel like in basketball, a lot of the times, right, you have a lot of talented players in basketball that don't have the work ethic that MJ and Kobe had, you know, that are in the NBA. But then you also have the players that don't have the talent, but they have the work ethic to be in the NBA. And LeBron, let's just keep it real. LeBron has all the physical gifts, man. Like I would say, like in terms of like talent wise, he's more in terms of like his physical gifts, he's more talented than a Kobe Bryant or a Michael Jordan. Like I'm talking about potential. I'm not talking about in terms of like skill set. He could have like if he had that mindset that a Kobe Bryant or MJ had, god damn man, like we wouldn't have this discussion, man. Because like I'm telling you, LeBron could have been that player. But I think it's also with upbringing, you know. And I just think that when LeBron got into the NBA, if he had a Phil Jackson or a coach like that, and he played in a system or a triangle, and he literally had alpha men that literally pushed him, he would have been a fantastic player. You know, and the thing with MJ and Kobe is that they were fortunate enough to be around alphas, even though they were clear cut alphas. But when they had a guy like a Phil Jackson, they became more. They started to understand the spirituality of the game. They started to know how to when to go hard and when not to, and when to pick their spots. You know, because these players were great regardless. And I just think that with the MJ and Kobe, like they're aliens. You know, like those are the type of players. Like I'm talking about, like they had all the physical gifts as along with the work ethic to be the type of ball player. You know how hard that shit is. Like a lot of players aren't blessed with that, you know. And I could go on and on, but I'm just like, there's so much to this this topic. I think this could have been like a whole podcast explaining why it is. So I'm gonna give the floor to you guys.
And guess what? We're gonna run this one back in the next podcast next week. That's gonna be actually the first topic, because this is a thing that you have to pay it its full homage and its full respect. So in doing so, you got to give it its full proper time. So the next panel, when we run this back, it's going to be a 5-headed monster. It's going to be myself. It's going to be Richy Rich. It's going to be Jacob Lonewolf. It's going to be Lewis Sports Network. And we're going to make sure Tom Ross is in the building when we run that one, because that one right there, because you're talking about Michael Jordan, you're talking about, you know what I'm saying, Kobe Bryant, it needs the heavy hitters to talk about that conversation. And we got to go in depth and we got to break that thing down and really showcase to you guys what this is all about, because that's the level of respect that both guys deserve. Anyways, and then I'll find a way to bring Jalik, the leader, in, you know what I'm saying, here and there, because this guy's a LeBron tard. I knew that was the case when he was saying Damian Lillard was a superstar and James Harden was a superstar. You could smell a LeBron tard, because LeBron tards have a dumbed down way of how they see basketball. But anyways, Richy Rich, what's your take on it, man?
I mean, Jacob Lonewolf, man, just keep hitting them out the park, man. You described it perfectly. MJ and Kobe Bryant skill sets. You know, those guys. Kobe caught on to MJ's skill set. He followed it. Look what Kobe was able to do. Win 5 championships. It's a skill set that brings championships, that bring winning. You know, and you know, to Kobe's fortune, he was able to have Phil Jackson pay attention and notice that he was going to be the next guy. Phil went over there and they won 5 championships. I don't know what the league was talking about, but Phil didn't do anything in the NBA, man, until he got with MJ. So I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like,
nah, this is the problem when you have somebody that knows boxing.
Phil,
this is the problem when you have somebody that talk boxing. Boxing and basketball are 2 different things. So if you're giving a boxing knowledge on basketball, you might as well put emojis in your head. That's it. Go ahead, Richy.
Exactly. What I just want to address what happened to LeBron until he went to a respected franchise like the Miami Heat, where actual leader was running that thing, and Pat Riley. He was able to start winning rings, right? Why don't Pat Riley get that credit? Yeah. You keep that same energy, man. I had to call you out on that. But
there you go.
It's just Michael Jordan, man, and Kobe Bryant. Those guys, their skill sets, man, their seriousness to the game. Those guys, those are players we talking about that were serious about the game. They were serious about their craft. And you could say they're the best practice players to ever grace the court in the NBA, man. These are guys that were working on moves, man, that you don't normally see from shooting guards. They were working on post moves. You don't normally see shooting guards work inside out. This was their games, man. You like seeing shooting guards take outside shots. These guys are trying to play like big men. So you already know these guys were not your normal shooting guards. And their footwork, man, like the way that they're able to use their bodies, like the Phoenix, like that Phoenix game that you brought up in the Western Conference when Kobe slapped what's his name in the butt. He smacked him in the butt that year when they beat Phoenix Suns to advance to the 2010 finals to play the Celtics again.
Alvin Gentry.
The head coach, Alvin Gentry. You saw the moves when Grant Hill was playing some hellified defense on Kobe, but Kobe was using Grant Hill's body to get separation to hit the shots. And that reminded me of Jordan in a lot of situations. When they would play the Knicks, when they would play the Pacers, Jordan would use his Kobe studied Michael Jeffrey Jordan down to a T, man. Because you looking at these other shooting guards, the wing players. These guys don't know how to use their bodies to create separation, man. Like those guys. Those guys, they didn't have to dribble to create situations. They didn't have to break you off with the dribble. They didn't have to use the shake. They had so many uses. They use their footwork. They use their body. They could bump off you to create the separation and get the shot off, man. That takes high skill. That takes high repetition of practicing, learning how to get that down, man. These guys were able to get that down. This is why they're the best 1A, 1B in my eyes from those positions, man. And you could look at it. You could arguably say, you know, the 1A, 1B in the game to ever play the game because their skill set. Just look at their skill. Look how many championships those skill sets have amassed, man. Numbers, women lie, men lie, women lie. Numbers don't, man. Those championships don't lie, bro. They don't lie. This is why, and these guys have won at a high level. They've won at a high level. Their win percentage is at a high level. That when they're in the big dance, it's a high possibility that they're gonna win. You look at LeBron's game. This guy has a very remedial game. You know what he's gonna do. He's gonna try to drive to the rim. He's gonna use his athleticism, use his body. Like you guys mentioned before, Skip Bayless, a Mack truck. It's very easy to stop that game. You build a wall, you funnel him into a shot blocking big, and you demoralize him. You make him lose confidence, and then now he has to rely on his streaky jump shot, and he can't hit the jumper. And now you're able to take advantage on the other end on those wasted possessions. MJ and Kobe, you saw what Greg Popovich did. There's no way when he guarded LeBron James in those finals in 2014, where he says, "You're gonna have to beat me with your jump shot. We're gonna respect you. We're gonna lock up the." Let this man try to disrespect Kobe Bryant or MJ defending these guys. That man would have got swept. They would have swept his ass out of that series. There's no way a coach like Greg Popovich would throw a defense like that at MJ or Kobe, man. No way. He's gonna do that with LeBron because he knows LeBron game is remedial. Even Rick Carlisle, that's the game he threw at LeBron in that finals that LeBron had that epic choke. 2011 finals. The finals that a lot of LeBron tards like to seem to forget. They have amnesia. Every time you bring up those finals, man, they want to forget. What was LeBron's skill set then? The most remedial game from a superstar we've ever seen, man. I don't get it, man. Listen, man. LeBron's game is still. You look at his game. It's still not where it needs to be, man. A guy 35 years old in this game, 17 years. You would think he'd have some tricks on his sleeve. His game is still the same game, man. But he got Anthony Davis, so he's able to fool some people, rack up those assists. But most of those assists are going to AD. So we like, oh, LeBron finally average double-digit assists. No, he got a star on his team, a star that could dominate at a high level, that could put up big numbers, put up big per numbers. People got to pay attention to that, man. Stop falling for the foolery, man. Stop falling for the mirage. Because that's what it is. LeBron don't got footwork, man. He don't got moves like MJ or Kobe, man. He can't fake out of deep. I remember that game where LeBron, Kobe was facing Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. That was when they were on the Miami Heat. It was the game where Steve Nash was on the Lakers. It was the year where the year where Kobe popped his Achilles, and the Lakers had a game down here against the Miami Heat. They lost that game because Kobe was doing a lot of heavy lifting in that game. But there was a move that he put on LeBron, man. LeBron looked like a fool, man, trying to guard Kobe. Kobe put this fake on, and LeBron was like backpedaling. He was trying to fix. Kobe just had a way of knowing how to use his feet, man. Same as MJ, man. These guys, they revolutionized that guard position, man. I don't see nobody. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a guard that's coming in this game. He's going to have to study those guys down to a T to bring to.
It's been a while, man. I don't know what you're talking about. I know he's 7 feet, but you got to put respect on that name, though. You don't be putting respect on that name. KD Trey 5.
KD's a small forward, though. I'm talking about shooting guards.
But let's keep it real. KD play like a shooting guard on the basketball court. Let's keep it a buck. KD play like a long ass shooting. Come on now.
I know. KD's the one.
Stalling. No, you always be stalling and
I'm talking about guards, man. Come on now. I already said KD's the best player in the game. What more do you want from me, man? He's the best. He got the best skill set.
He gonna wait until a while.
I'm talking about from a guard.
Let Kevin Durant call out your damn mouth, man. Yeah, that dude said, I study MJ. I study Kobe, dog. They 1 and 1A, dog. Come on, man. KD, Trey 5, slick sleeper, dog. That man has mastered the game of basketball, dog.
He's a small forward. I'm talking about.
He played the game like a damn shooting guard, man. He played the game like a shooting guard.
Well, that's how I look at MJ and Kobe, man. I look at from a guard position. Guys that revolutionized that game, man. And when I look at the guard position, I see nothing, man. I see redundancy, man. James Harden, take a 3, go try to get a layup and try to make a guy foul you. His game is so redundant, man. And when you look at these other shooting guards, it's the same thing basically. These guys are 3-point shooters now, and They don't mix it up. They don't mix it up. They don't give you the whole bag, man. They don't go in their whole bag of tricks. It's the same game, man. It's boring. I don't know about y'all, man, but it's boring to me, man. Watching these guards in this league. There's no diversity between these guys. I don't know, man. It's a dying position. Hopefully, man, somebody brings it back, because when Kobe was on the court, man, that dude, whew, that boy was an assassin. MJ, we don't got. That's the GOAT. I don't know what what's his name? J-Lick, the leader, talking about MJ the GOAT. All right, that's the king right there, dog. That's the real king.
And I think he's from Houston. That's why he propping up.
Oh, he's from Houston. You should be on James Harden jock. Why you on Brian jock? Why you not on Harden jock? You a Houston fan rooting for Brian. Root for Harden, man. You tripping?
Woo. Hey, okay, Black Belt Ben. He said, "Come on, bro." He said, "Black Belt Ben, come on, bro. KD does not have good footwork like Jordan or Kobe." Hey, Black Belt Ben, you don't know basketball then, because KD said it when Walt Frazier was trying to diss KD. KD said, "Y'all know what time it is, dog. Y'all lace it up with me on the basketball court. Y'all know what time it is." Kobe Bryant passed the torch to Kevin Durant. He never passed no damn torch to no damn LeBron James. I don't know why people are making this lie. And I've seen the highest form of real G's, super real G's, and ultimate real G's out here in these NBA streets say that bullshit. And HeKnowsHisSport always got to debunk that foolery. Kobe Bryant passed the torch to Kevin Durant. He said he signed Kevin Durant's shoes that last year, and he put in the shoes, "Be the greatest." He ain't never tell no damn Stephen Curry no fuck shit like that. He ain't never tell no LeBron no shit like that. He ain't never told nobody else. He told Kevin Durant, "Be the greatest." That's a passing of the torch. Anybody that understands won't understand what I'm talking about. And Kevin Durant was the only one that hold Kobe Bryant's back when they tried to say Kobe was number 46. Let's y'all forget. Let's have to remind y'all asses. Kevin Durant is the guy that was passed the torch, because he was also passed the torch of polarization, just like Pt.4. He's the most polarizing guy in the NBA. You want to know why, J-League leader? Because he regressed LeBron James down to an abysmal 33.3% NBA Finals average, 3 for 9. He made the legacy officially done when he chucked that 35 crook a little in LeBron James' face. And then the next year, LeBron said, "Fuck it, I don't want Kevin Durant. Yay, Cook, J.R. Smith, you go guard him. I don't want to be on ESPN Top 10 Live." Every time I say ESPN Top 10 Live, for the basketball heads, y'all know what I'm talking about. ESPN used to run a Top 10 Live. They don't do that no more since LeBron got in the league, because they don't want LeBron to get embarrassed. They used to run a Top 10 Live of how basketball players used to embarrass other basketball players on the basketball court. Anybody that's a true basketball head know what I'm talking about. When I say ESPN Top 10 Live, that's what I mean. They was going to show highlights of Kevin Durant lashing up LeBron, but they actually did. They showed Kevin Durant do this, and he held that motherfucker. And he looked at LeBron and said, "Look here, I done took that title away from you, and eat that shot." And you know what LeBron said? "Damn, I can't guard this guy. He's an enigma on the basketball court." So, Black Belt Ben, if you don't know basketball, then I'm going to have to educate you. Kevin Durant mastered the game of basketball. Right before he injured his Achilles, the shit he was doing on the basketball court, the tear that he was on. Listen, man, Kawhi Leonard guarded Durant for 11 minutes, and he was like this. "I need help. I need help. This dude cooking us." So don't even get me started on Kevin Durant. I'll ether and murk anybody when it comes to Kevin Durant, because I know what that level is all about. He's the guy that the shit got passed down to. He's that ether, that shit that make your soul burn slow. He's that equalizer on the basketball court. That's why the Golden State Warriors got. And for people to sit here and say that Kevin Durant is a chip chaser, higgity fucking hush. So if that's the case, you disqualify all NBA greats. Because isn't all NBA greats playing on teams that were great, and that's why they won NBA championships? Double higgity fucking hush. LeBron James is the ultimate chip chaser. He chip chased with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Then he chip chased with freaking Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. And now he chip chasing with Anthony Davis. That's 3 chip chasing right there. And you want to sit here and tell me about Kevin Durant and Golden State Warriors when they beg for his services? A triple higgity fucking hush. Now, back to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. These are the 2 greatest games we've ever seen in basketball. These are the 2 most refined games in basketball. These are the games that have basically established the game of basketball. 11 championships amongst the both of them. You just can't. If I sit here and talk about it, like Jacob Lonewolf said, we have to do a whole nother basketball live on it because these guys revolutionized basketball. And the cult-like following that MJ and Kobe has, LeBron wish he had that. See, they got it off of the strength of what they did on the basketball court. LeBron has to do it through l'occlusion, the foolery, the class A narcissism, the nonsense, all of this other crap. And even in doing all of that little rubbish, he only got 10% of what they got. Damn, I would feel sad if I did all of that and I could only attain 10%. You know why? Because real recognizes real. Let me say it again. Real recognizes real. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. And that's the cutthroat truth telling fashion. Jacob will close us out, brother.
Yeah, this was an amazing call. There's a lot of topics, because like the last topic that you had with MJ and Kobe, I just felt like there's a whole nother live stream. I just felt like, with that topic, I have to go into more research about the two players. And you know me, I'm always researching, I have to research the past to like bring up points that people may not know about them. So I just felt like this was a good live stream, and I think, once the playoff starts, I think things are going to get more interesting. So yeah, I'm ready to go next week. So, it was a great topic, Richy brought up a lot of great points, I know that there's a lot of
there you go. They hate
chat,
the anti-LeBron Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant and nullify LeBron. They can't stand Kevin Durant, though. Woo.
Yeah, and I think KD. I like whenever I look at KD's game, because I think with basketball, it's all about winning as well. Basketball is about winning games, right? But also, when you're a great player, you have to do it in style as well, and that's what Kobe and MJ did. They didn't just play basketball just to win games. They did it. They played basketball to destroy you and also look good at the same time, with their move set and their skill set. And I think when I watch KD play, let's keep it real. His game is sexy, just the way he plays, there's a fluidity to his game, And I just think that, he's definitely one of those players, when I look at him, because I think a few years ago, he basically said how, he was second in everything. He was second in the draft, and he said he was the second best player in the world. But now he's the best player in the world, And he did that, when he dethroned LeBron in 2017. I watched that Game 3, of the NBA Finals, and I think that was when he solidified everything. So I think KD, he's the best player in basketball right now, even though he's injured. And for sure, with Kawhi, Kawhi's definitely he's after KD. I don't think he's on KD's level, but I think Kawhi, like with him, his game, he has fluidity to his game. So I think in basketball, it's not just about winning, but also how you play the game. How you move, so your skills. It's also about entertaining. It's about artistry. It's about it's poetic. So that's just my take. It's a great live stream.
Yeah, this was a really good live stream. I enjoyed, sharing the platform with you guys, and mixing it up with the people in the chat. Topics that were necessary. We needed to talk about the Lillard. What was going on. The Lakers, because all that stuff's going to be brought up. In the near future when this playoff starts rolling. So. We just the topics are going to get better. They're going to get more interesting, and the live, you already know this is the place to be at. So, and it's going to be, even more live once these playoffs start rolling, and more of these topics start coming out, and we're going to be talking about it, and giving you that heat and that fire. We appreciate you all in the chat. You guys were very, very active. And that gives us more energy to continue these shows. So I appreciate He Knows, Jacob. I look forward to doing this again with you guys really, really soon. And let's keep giving it. Let's keep giving them that good that good energy.
Listen, man. We you know, he knows warned you guys, man. You know, active rotation was coming back. And that's what everybody wanted. Everybody wanted that old school he knows spirit of just keeping the foot on the necks. And that was also keeping the foot on the necks in the content, dropping content to where basically you just it's like shit coming out of your ass. That's that level that you guys miss, and that level is back. Look at that. Drop 3 videos live and now and live. And we ain't playing, man. We ain't playing, y'all. The level is back. The MJ23 level has left, and the MJ23 level is back. I felt like MJ wearing the 45, dog, and I had to come back and reprove dominance, dog, in the year of 96, 97, 98. But I had to hire Tim Grover, and I had to get the body refined, dog, because I was dominating 91, I was dominating 92, I was dominating 93, and then I had my little, you know what I'm saying, temporary sabbatical, and I just felt that, you know what, I had to come back and reprove. And that's what we're doing right now. We're reproving the MJ23 level out here. Because like Jacob Lonewolf is learning, dog, this is the true alpha shit, man. We ain't got no competitors, dog. We are the competitor, dog. I'm going to say it again. We ain't got no competitors. We are the competitor. And if you don't see yourself as the best, then you ain't no damn true alpha, dog. True alphas don't have no second place, dog. They are the best at what they do. Jacob Lonewolf, listen, brother, you're doing your thing. Keep doing your thing. I saw you had that 1.3K views. So that tells me you're keeping the foot on the damn necks, dog. So keep doing your thing. Keep pushing, man. That's what I'm talking about. Lewis Sports Network, keep pushing. Tom Ross TV, keep pushing. Because that's what we doing out here, man. We pushing. Richy Rich, keep pushing, man. Because when it's all said and done, what people are going to see is an evolution of what true alphas can bring to the table, man. We push, and when we push in an unlimited fashion. This is why they can't stand us, because we will outperform people when it comes to content. We ain't got time to be playing, and we'll drop it like we're taking a shit, because that's just the way we roll. Appreciate everyone that was on the live. Appreciate everyone that did their thing. I dropped my comment as it relates to Kevin Durant. I dropped my comment as it relates to Michael Jordan. I dropped my comment as it relates to Kobe Bryant. These are 3 equal level scorers. They just do it differently. Michael Jordan is the most cold-blooded assassin's mentality scorer. Kobe Bryant is the most highest degree and most fastest scorer. Kevin Durant is the most effortless and most efficient scorer. And if I have to revisit that and break that shit back down, like I did in that epic video, that's also in my community post, I will do that. But they all 3 of the same level of scorers, but they just do it in a different way. They skin the cat differently. This is why every time Richy Rich gets slided in the mouth, he don't mention Kevin Durant, I gotta, hey, what's up with Kevin Durant, dog? Hey, what's up, man? Because Kevin Durant, y'all don't understand what Kevin Durant is all about, man. Maybe I need to bring this back so y'all can understand what Kevin Durant was on. If this dude did not have this Achilles tear, Jacob Lonewolf, you would have saw Kawhi Leonard get embarrassed in the NBA Finals. Y'all would have saw Kawhi Leonard get embarrassed in the NBA. Y'all would have been like, what the heck? I'm telling y'all right now, Kawhi Leonard, as defensive oriented as he is, Kevin Durant would have made this dude look like a redheaded stepchild. It would have been what Kobe Bryant did to Tony Allen. Y'all don't understand how complete Kevin Durant is. Kobe Bryant talked about this. Kobe Bryant said when he played against Kevin Durant in the Team USA, we ain't talking about the second one, the first one. He said, this guy right here is a complete, I ain't never heard Kobe Bryant say that about any basketball player, period, especially a young one. This guy right here, outside of Michael Jordan, this guy right here is a complete basketball player. He had no weaknesses. The only thing that I had to develop was his mental. Do you understand what that means? He said Kevin Durant had no weakness on the basketball court. He just needed to develop. You didn't hear what I just said, Richy Rich. This is why I always tell you, bring your rabbit ass to talk about Kevin Durant. Kobe Bryant said this dude had no weaknesses. He just needed to develop his mental. That's deadly. He said when I watched this dude practice, it was kind of like watching me in a sense. That's what Kobe said, man. That's why I keep telling y'all. Kevin Durant is a dude that y'all don't even understand. If this dude did not have the Achilles, he would be sitting on damn near walking into his 4th title right now. He would have been a living nightmare for the LeBron James. That's why you think the NBA is so happy that Kevin Durant's injured. Why you think they always taking shots at him? They just happy. Damn right, Terrence. The boxing is coming. But this basketball one's too good. And sometimes when something is too good, you got to keep it going. That's what people don't understand. Trust me, we're going to tear that shit up on the boxing side too. But when something is good, you can't let it stop. Anyways, Jacob Lonewolf, you tore this thing up. Richy Rich, you tore this thing up. When it's all said and done, we tore this thing up. Y'all have a great TGIF Friday. Y'all do y'all damn thing. Jacob Lonewolf, we're going to holler. You know what I'm saying? I just got to get to this live stream. And after that, we all ears, man. Other than that, y'all be easy. Y'all enjoy y'all TGIF Friday. Make sure y'all subscribe to Jacob Lonewolf channel, finding yourself in this big world. Richy Rich, you know we doing our thing. Next week, no excuses. I need Richy Rich, Jacob Lonewolf, Tom Ross, and Lewis Sports Network, because we're going to go in the first topic. It's going to be the 5 of us, because it's going to take 5 to talk about Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. We're going to make a whole fucking live stream about that, because they are that lethal that a whole live stream is dedicated upon it. So I'm going to reach out to all 5 of y'all, and that's going to be the topic of discussion. We're going to break this shit down, and we're going to have Jalik, the leader, call in. Because, see, we can't have Rudy Pooh and Plum Brains on the damn panel when we talking MJ and Kobe. Y'all, you just call in so we can Ether and Murky on the damn call in. That's how we're going to deal with your ass. And then I'll get you on the live when we start talking about some Rudy Pooh and Plum Brain LeBron nonsense. Other than that, that's how we're going to run it, man. Y'all be easy. Y'all take care of yourself. Jacob Lonewolf, appreciate you, brother. Richy Rich, appreciate you, brother. Just want you guys to know, He Knows His Sport is back on active rotation. So that means we keeping the foot on the what? On the decks. We keeping the foot on the what? On the decks. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Hit that super chat, man. Donate your Sunday's best or Cash App us. The banner's right there beneath the video. Appreciate y'all. We always going to continue to give you guys that hot content. Peace. Those of y'all that's on the boxing side, join me over on that side, because I'm about to start that live up right now. Jacob Lonewolf, thank you again. Richy Rich, thank you again. Make sure y'all subscribe. Make sure y'all comment. Make sure y'all like. Make sure y'all share. TGIF Friday. Peace.
Peace.